It's Wednesday in South Carolina. Welcome to the Touchdowns podcast presented by Harrison Williamson Cross Country Mortgage. Light news in between this episode and last episode, Thomas, with the big three returning to South Carolina in between, which we covered in our last episode. There's still some ongoings in the transfer portal that we want to dive into. Matthew Fuller coming back to school, and looks like another offensive lineman, Rodney Newsome, is going into the portal. I believe he has to apply for an extra year of eligibility in order to have one more year wherever he decides to go. But just another offensive lineman in the portal, and Matthew Fuller coming back in 2026. What are your thoughts on these two? We'll call them minor moves when it relates to the grand scheme of things, but nonetheless, this was the news for our team here the last couple days.
I'm happy to see Fuller return. I think we'll probably take a running back in the portal, especially with us hiring a new running backs coach. But I like Fuller. I like Howell. I think they're good backs. I think with hopefully a better offensive line and a more college-friendly offensive system next year, that they can be effective contributors. And then I think we've kind of already covered how we feel about O-line departures. I do want to see us keep Shed Surratt. I want to see us keep Josiah. I think Shivers, Jatavius. Shivers. I think he could potentially compete for the right tackle spot next year. But, you're not going to see me losing too much sleep over any other O-line departure at this point. But, it gets to a point to where we've had 6 guys at this point, I think, go in. So you do want to make sure the numbers are right. And so that just – we could end up taking a ton of guys, which I don't hate.
Well, we're gonna have to. We essentially have three starting spots that we need to fill, plus we need to backfill depth. The good thing is Shed Surratt can kind of play multiple positions on the line. So if we go in the portal and we say, all right, we've found 2 great guards and a center, then we might stick Shed Surratt out at right tackle. But if we find a good right tackle in the portal, maybe we put Shed at guard. So I think he gives us some flexibility on who we can go after in the portal. But yeah, we're going to have to hit the portal hard on offensive line, and the GM mindset that you have to have in college football. I think we need to be putting a lot of our funds into that offensive line. It's going to be interesting to see. I'm not as high on – let me step back. I think a lot of people were wanting Matthew Fuller to get more snaps this year because he was younger, and Rasul was maybe not living up to expectations of what we thought he would be when we signed him out of the portal. So people were hammering the table that Matthew Fuller needs more carries. Personally, I wasn't super impressed with Matthew Fuller this season. I'm not saying he won't be good. He runs hard. He had the great run against LSU, but you take that away, and he was pretty much a 2.5, 3 yards a carry average. He wasn't that explosive in the passing game. So while I think he's a good, promising player, I don't think he's some stud now. He could grow into that, and I certainly want him to be successful next year. But I think it's in any situation, it's good to retain a guy that was on your roster and played snaps. He played snaps for us in 2025. We need to keep those guys as we move forward, especially in a room where we're going to be thin. If he were to leave, then that's just more resources we have to allocate to the running back room, where we should be, focusing on offensive line and some of the holes on defense in the portal. So I am excited that Matthew Fuller's coming back, though, and I hope he continues to improve and has a great season next year, and maybe splits carries with Juwan Howell, or we go and get someone in the portal. It sounds like Turbo Richard, who's the Boston College running back that went into the portal, he actually has ties to South Carolina. It sounds like he's leaning towards going to Indiana. So I think that was a name that just Gamecock fans, when he went into the portal, just with his ties to the state, Gamecock fans were intrigued by him. He has an awesome name for a running back too, with Turbo Richard. It doesn't get much better than that for a running back, but I don't think that he's going to come to South Carolina. It sounds like he's leaning towards Indiana, but I know that was a name. So it's good to have Matthew Fuller back, and I hope he far exceeds what he did this year, because again, I wasn't blown away with what he produced on the field. Now he runs hard and he does all these things. From what everyone has said, he does everything right. So you root for a kid like that. But ultimately, just based on the production on the field this year, I hope he can be much improved. But yeah, the O-line, we're going to have to allocate resources there in the portal. That was my big thing about depth. If these guys going into the transfer portal and we're not going to have depth and competition in that room, but hopefully these freshmen can step up, and hopefully we can get some more guys out of the portal. There's some interesting guys that I've seen. I don't know if you've been following any of there's been the guy from ECU who's a tackle, some other guys that I'm now blanking on. I should have bookmarked their announcements on Twitter so I could go back and reference it. But there's a lot of O linemen in the portal. That's one position that we talked about. It's hard to get in the portal, but now I think offensive linemen are also realizing how valuable they are now, and so you're starting to see more offensive linemen go into the portal, and maybe there's some game changers that we can bring into this offense, because we're going to need it for next year.
Yeah, I think the coaching carousel this offseason will definitely contribute to more good O linemen being in the portal than a normal cycle. The reason it's so hard to get good O linemen in the portal is because usually teams will pay good O linemen to stay because they're so hard to find. Like, they're like, we can't replace this guy, so we got to pay him. But with so many coaches moving, I think that, there are going to be more good O linemen that are willing to leave their school rather than, play their last year under a new coach, even if they're willing. Like, if they're already going to have a new coach, they might as well test the waters in the portal.
Right. Well, and you see speaking of testing the waters, what about doing a visit to the school that you've already been playing for?
I think that's kind of crazy, but it's not as crazy as people are making it out to be, because, like, obviously he doesn't need to see the weight room, but I think all that really is like Oklahoma State is paying to fly his family out to meet with the new staff. Like it didn't need to be listed on that, in my opinion, that was a misleading, clickbaity,
Yeah.
graphic. It should have just said that like he's considering staying at Oklahoma State rather than visiting Oklahoma State. Like, he obviously doesn't need.
Yeah, it's just another thing that is just crazy about this era. And
I mean, it's like he doesn't need a campus tour, but like it just means he's considering staying with the new staff as opposed to leaving. But
yeah, I mean,
the graphic was crazy.
Right. Well, and it just highlights what I've been bitching and moaning about. Well, I haven't been bitching and moaning about it too much, but I've brought it up, and I want to see some more structure put to the transfer portal. I think John Calipari, and I know basketball is different, but John Calipari's been bringing up some great points about the transfer portal, and I think it applies to football too. I mean, basketball is kind of in chaos even more than football right now, because you have guys that got drafted in the NBA that are coming back to college mid-season and getting eligibility. First of all, which again highlights how incompetent and stupid the NCAA is, that in certain cases it takes months and months and months for a guy to get approved for eligibility for a year. In football, some cases it takes 2 days and they approve them. And now they're approving 4 years of eligibility for guys that went into the G League out of high school. They're drafted by the NBA. They've played minutes in the NBA, which is even crazier. And they're getting granted eligibility in college basketball. So it's just, again, it highlights how wild, wild west and how there's no structure. And I just want a little bit of structure. Again, I want the kids to get paid, and there is a way for them to get paid but still have some structure to maintain what I think makes college athletics different than the NFL. I don't like to see, and maybe my 3-year rule that I proposed a couple episodes ago is a little too extreme, but I do like Calipari's his transfer portal idea, which is you get one free transfer for your 4-year career. You get 5 years to play for, no matter what. Like there's no, and again, that was a little bit of COVID and all these eligibility where you have guys getting seventh years because of they had a COVID year, and then they had an injury, then they had a medical, they had a freshman year red shirt, they had a COVID year of eligibility, then they had a medical red shirt. So you got guys getting 7 years, but 5 years to play for. That's how it should be. And you get one free transfer. If your coach leaves, you get another free transfer. But then beyond that, you have to sit out a year if you transfer. I think that would be a good system. I don't necessarily love the free agency every year. I know you like it because you believe it helps us, but once this, I just don't necessarily agree with, especially for a school like us, where we can go and recruit a guy, and then a team with less resources like us, that guy can kind of extort us, or he's going to leave. And so you don't get I think there just needs to be some guardrails on, once you commit to a school, you have to fulfill some obligations, because these guys are now getting paid. So another thing too, I think everyone should have to play in bowl games. even guys that are going to the NFL draft, you have to play in bowl games. If you're getting NIL money, you have to play in every game. Like, what is the problem with that? What's your problem with that?
They're never going to be able to enforce that. I think at most, once collective bargaining comes through, and we sign these players to official contracts, there may be a clause where you make a certain amount of money per game, and there's incentives, and there may be a game check for the bowl game, and an incentive for playing. So by not playing in it, you would forfeit some money that we had agreed to pay you, and we would get that back as a school if you sat out. But there's just no, if a guy is projected as a first or second round pick, their signing bonus, like what they stand to gain by signing an NFL contract, by getting drafted that high, we're just no university is ever going to be able to pay that much for one bowl game. And like, I really wouldn't want Jalen Kilgore, if we had made a bowl game, to like tear his ACL and not be able to test at the combine. Like, I wouldn't want
You obviously don't want that, but you want the best players to play in the bowl games.
Right. Well, but like,
you want the 2025 team to play in the bowl game. Like, that's all this shit about the bowl games, and it's just the guy that you're getting paid. You should play in the game. I understand there's risk. That's why dudes who are going to be first and second round picks buy insurance policies.
Well, I mean,
you can do that shit. Like,
if the school,
but they should be playing in these games. Like,
if the school starts providing insurance like that could change things. But I'm not gonna. If a guy has been a 3-year starter for us and he's about to be a top 60 pick, like, I'm not going to cry about him. If we're in the playoffs and he sits out, I'll be furious. But if it's a non-playoff bowl game, I don't blame a guy for choosing the safer route in protecting his career. There will be guys that play. If I were good enough to play Division I football, like, I would have been a guy that played in a bowl game. But if some of my teammates sat out, like, I wouldn't resent them for it. So I get what you're saying. I know that fans want to see their best players play in bowl games, and when you lose a bowl game, but you didn't even have your starting quarterback or half your defense, it's annoying and frustrating. But that's just where bowl games are right now. And I don't know what to tell you. Like,
yeah, no, I mean, and again, it's understandable for an NFL guy, a guy that's projected to get drafted high, to want to protect himself, but to be in a situation where there is a contract, I think they should, and I think that's where we're going, they should build that into the contracts. Like, this is essentially becoming semi-professional football. So your contract, what happens, this is real. Like, what happens in college football? Now college football is no longer a feeder for the NFL. This is its own entity where real dollars are being paid. So fuck your NFL career. You are in the here and now. You can't tell us no because if you have future prospects. It's you have to live in the now and you have to fulfill your obligations to us, not to your future. Well, and that I'm sorry, but that's how it's going.
I don't know that fuck your NFL career is going to be a good recruiting tool. Beck. You can say that.
It's not the coaches that are going to do it. It's the structure. It's the organization.
Some schools may do that, but schools that want to have more NFL players on their roster, which I think every school does because that helps them win games, they're gonna take care of their NFL players. And like I said, it will most likely be in the contracts. Like players will have to pay it. Like, let's say, Lenoris is. This is a hypothetical situation where, Lenoris is making $3 million, but it's under a collective bargaining contract. And so his game check for the 2026 season would be, $230,000 a game. And, he gets paid out each week that he plays, and the bowl game is the 13th game. And he says, I'm not playing in it. I'm preparing for the draft. He would have to pay us $230,000. I think that's as far as it'll ever get, where the player either has to give money back to the university or they just don't get that game check or those incentives for the bowl game. We can't, there's no contract where they're going to make the guys play.
Fair, give the money back. And this is a boomer. I'm becoming more and more of a boomer. Where my country gone by the day, just with all the changes. And I'm trying to think of ways to kind of bring the old college football that I grew up on into the new era.
The reason that system worked is because we were exploiting the athletes. We were giving them $700 to go to SeaWorld, and they just didn't have a better option.
No, we were giving them a bag under the table.
Fair. But yeah, look, I don't really care about bowl games. I've never cared about bowl games. Like, we can win an infinite amount of bowl games, and the only thing that anyone is ever going to say to us is you don't have any championship. All I care about is SEC championships, making the playoff, and national championships. If there's a year where we are bowl eligible and we don't make the playoff, do I want to win our bowl game as opposed to losing it? Yes. Do I understand that we're going to have to, what winning a bowl game now means is your backups beat the other team's backups? Yes. And I've made peace with that. And I'm not that concerned with fixing bowl games or bowl season. I know that a lot of college football fans are, and they're butthurt about it. I don't care. I don't care about the Liberty Bowl. I've never cared about the Liberty Bowl. I don't care about the Pop-Tart Bowl. I don't care about any of these bowls. They're all corporate sponsored money grabs. At the end of the day, yes, if South Carolina is playing in a game, I want us to win that game more than I want us to lose it. But in the grand scheme of things, it's about championships, and that there are going to be lots of people that disagree with me and say that I'm not a true college football fan, and I'm not. I care about South Carolina. My focus is incredibly narrow. I only care about South Carolina and South Carolina adjacent stuff. If there is something going on in college football that doesn't affect South Carolina in any way, you're going to have a really difficult time getting me to care about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I disagree, or I just am on the other side of that. Like, I would rather see, I don't know. That's what I'm saying, dude. You do care about bowls. You used to. You just don't anymore because of the changes. Like, you did used to care about bowls. You said you never cared about bowls. You did. So let's not go that far. And bowls are fun. It is fun to watch South Carolina play against a team that you don't normally play.
Right.
In a game. And in that game, I want to see our best versus their best. Like those when we beat Ohio State, when we beat Michigan, when we beat Wisconsin, Nebraska, all these programs that are quote unquote higher tier than us, when we beat them in bowl games, that is fun. I don't know, but that's just how I see it. But I just want also in a general sense of watching college football, and I know you don't care outside of South Carolina, you still watch it, but you're not invested in it maybe. But I would like to see just these teams and these matchups, and I want these teams to have their best players. It just kind of sucks when,
right? But I guess I didn't say that the right way. I did used to care more about bowl games. Bowl games did used to be better. I will acknowledge that. I'm not saying that the 12-team playoff and probably the soon-to-be here 16-team playoff have not negatively impacted bowl games. They absolutely have. The 12-team playoff has taken all of the juice out of the, BCS bowls, New Year's Eve bowl games. It has. But what I'm saying is because the 12-team playoff gives South Carolina a better chance of winning a national championship, which I believe it does, I'm willing to sacrifice what bowl season used to be to have this new format. I don't know that we need to go to 16 teams, but that will probably happen. And that will further dilute bowl season. And
yeah,
that sucks.
Well, that's fair, and that is reality.
But what I'm saying is I'm willing to give that up for South Carolina to have a better opportunity at being in the field and winning a championship.
Yeah. Well, and I think because bowl season is now diluted, and I think they need to do this even regardless of bowl games and kind of their failings, but they need to do a mid-season Big Ten SEC challenge and then ACC Big 12 challenge. And the reason, I'm pairing the two conferences because it's perceived that Big Ten and SEC are the top two, ACC and Big 12 are the next two. Also, there's alignment in there's 16 Big Ten teams and 16 SEC teams. There's 17 ACC teams plus Notre Dame, and then there's 18 Big 12 teams. So you would have even matched ups, and I would love to see that in the middle of the season so you're getting a matchup with South Carolina and Big Ten team in the middle of the regular season where it impacts college football playoff rankings and all the best players are playing and it's not. And so maybe that's how you remedy some of these things with the failing bowls and guys opting out. And so I would like to see that. I would like to just see it too, just so we can start to measure on the field because now everyone's talking about bowl records and that's all fine and dandy. And I'm not trying to defend the SEC. The SEC has been bad in bowl games this year, but I would like to see conferences compared on the field during the regular season. I think we need, and we've talked about this too, how the committee isn't weighing non-conference games the same, but so everyone's scheduling FCS and, these bullshit games, and we need to get rid of those. And I think better than just random scheduling Power 4, like let's do a challenge, and maybe it doesn't have to be. Let's use the previous year's conference standings and just match it up that way. And I'd honestly like to see it. Ohio State play the bottom team in the SEC, and then Georgia play the bottom team in the Big Ten, and then you just go towards the middle. So you get the top of the Big Ten playing the bottom of the SEC, top of the SEC playing the bottom of the Big Ten, and then it just gets to the middle, and then you have the middle teams playing. I would be interested to see that. I would think, because
why wouldn't you work top to bottom? What
you want to see? Because all you want to do is put up.
Kentucky gonna prove about conference comparison?
Because you want to see depth. You want to see how the bottom of the SEC competes against the top of the Big Ten, and how the bottom of the Big Ten competes against the top of the SEC.
Well, the answer is the top is going to destroy the bottom on both sides. Dummy.
Theoretically.
Dude.
I think.
Dude, if you want to compare depth, you have the bottoms play the bottoms.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It gets towards the middle, so then
your concept works once it gets to the middle, but
I would obviously rather see Ohio State play Georgia, but to put Ohio State Georgia in the middle of the regular season, I don't think those teams would agree to that.
Beck is acknowledging that neither of the good schools would agree to that because, as I have stated many times, the committee does not value strength of schedule or strength of record properly.
But I would just like to see,
Georgia and Ohio State don't want to play each other, Beck, because then they'll lose their spot to 12-0 JMU. You loser.
No, that's never happened.
But that's why they won't play that game.
No, they're.
No.
The point is there needs to be an in-season tournament. We need to make that happen in college.
That would be cool. 0% chance that happens. 0.
Well, someone needs to get on the phone with me and listen to my ideas.
You know who Ohio State and Georgia are going to be playing mid-season now that Big Ten has already been doing 9 conference games. Now that the SEC is playing 9 conference games every single year, and Georgia's not going to cancel their game with Georgia Tech, the only team that Georgia is going to be playing mid-season from Ohio is the Ohio Bobcats. the Ohio.
Right, but wouldn't you rather see Ohio State play an SEC team, even though they're in even though the bottom of the SEC?
No shit.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. It's a good idea.
That's why we need to get rid of the group of 5 and fix strength of record metrics, you dumbass. Because teams don't want to schedule aggressively because they got to compete with the team that won the Sun Belt or the MEAC. You idiot. That's why I have been campaigning against the group of 5 for 9 months. You're like, no, let them in. They beat
let 10. One group of 5 in. That's not a big deal.
It is a big deal. If you want these competitive in-season matchups for non-conference games, eliminate the group of 5. Eliminate them. I don't care if there's 20 spots. Group of 5 shouldn't get one. If you want these games, these schools aren't going to schedule these games, Beck, because despite your just win the game mentality, that's not how an athletic director is going to think.
Thomas, these schools aren't competing against the group, beat Georgia. They're competing against other at-large Power 4 teams. You're targeting the group of 5, but that's not who's competing against each other.
Dude, they're competing against. I'm saying, why would a Power 4 school make their already significantly more difficult schedule than a group of 5 school more difficult if a group of 5 is going to get an auto bid for going 11-1 against 12 not top?
The group of 5 is getting the auto bid anyway.
But take it away.
Schedule harder.
Take it away.
Schedule harder so you can fucking beat out the other group.
No,
beat out the other Power 4.
They're going to want more easy wins. They're going to want more easy wins.
You're confused about who these Power 4 conference schools are competing against. It's not the group of 5 auto bid. It's the other at-large group of 5, Power 4 teams. So you want to make your schedule difficult so you can get a fucking big win so your resume looks better. Miami, Oklahoma, Alabama, Vanderbilt, Notre Dame, all these teams are competing against each other. They're not competing against JMU.
Right.
JMU's already in.
But losses are penalized more than big wins are rewarded. Dumbass. Texas has a much better case of getting in at 10-2 with a win over William and Mary versus their loss at Ohio State. If Texas would have beat William and Mary 100-0 instead of losing at Ohio State, they probably would have gotten into the playoff over Miami. And you know that. Whether you agree with it or not, that is true. So Texas isn't going to schedule Ohio State or Michigan anymore. They're going to schedule William and Mary and beat them 1,000-0 because it is an easier win. It's an easier data point to just, we don't have a loss this week. That's what I'm telling you. And that's what the group of 5 that's what any auto bid encourages. It encourages scheduling easier, getting as many easy wins as possible. And then, in your scenario where there are 2 11-1 teams, the 11-1 team with better wins will get in over the 11-1 team with not as many good wins. But what I'm talking about is the teams that are getting left out because they're 9-3, but they played 9 ranked teams. They're not thinking, oh, we have so many good wins. They're thinking we got left out because we're 9-3. And it is an easy solution to just say win all of the ranked games, but win that team that is playing 10
I think the easier
teams a year, when they have an opportunity to put an easier game on their schedule, they're going to do it. Like, I promise you, dude, now that we have canceled all of we canceled Miami, we canceled all these other future Power 4 matchups, you probably won't see us schedule a Power 4 team outside of Clemson and non-conference ever again. Because why would we? We got to play 9 SEC games in Clemson every year. Why would we schedule another Power 4 team? I know it would be a better game. It would be a better game for the fan base to watch us play a Big Ten team. But why would we take on the burden of playing 11 Power 4 teams a year when JMU got into the playoff by playing one Power 4 team and they lost? They were 11-1 with 0 Power 4 wins, and they got in. So if that is if we are judging teams based off wins and losses, no Power 4 team is going to schedule a non-conference Power 4 game that they don't have to, because they're not rewarded for it. That is what I've been trying to tell you for 6 months. These games that you want will never happen because they're not rewarded.
Then fucking first of all, again, these teams that you're talking about building their schedules, they're not competing against JMU for a spot. Let me first say that. They're not competing with them for a spot. But let's do it this way. Let's fucking make every team in the Power 4 only play Power 4. 3 non-conference Power 4 and your 9 conference games. That's what I think we should do. Expand it to 16 teams, and the top 15 in the Power 4 get in, and then the best team in the group of 5 gets in as the 16 seed.
I'm fine with that, except no group of 5. They should have their own thing.
I mean, yeah, we'll see. We'll keep talking about it. But anyways, our rivals in the upstate announced that they have fired Garrett Riley, offensive coordinator, and safeties coach Riley Conn. This was after an abysmal performance in the Pinstripe Bowl against Penn State. Dabo with some pretty hilarious quotes. Yeah, I'm a leader of men. He pissed off a lot. I mean, this is the shit he's been doing for 15 years. Dabo is still Dabo, but Clemson fans obviously were able to stomach it when they were consistently a top 5 team for 6-7 years and winning ACC championships and winning a couple national championships. Dabo hasn't changed. Now Clemson fans are fed up. What do you think they're going to do? It sounds like there's going to be some more firings within the staff. Whatever's going to happen with who he brings in. Rumors are it's old Chad Morris. That would be funny. I don't know, man. This is pretty funny, and it isn't as good because we didn't beat them a month ago. If we would have beat them, I would have been pounding on the table and jumping up and down and laughing in their face. But it's still funny to see kind of the unraveling and potential downfall. I said it in 2022 when we beat them in Clemson. I told my buddies the Death Star has been destroyed. Y'all are never going to be a program that you were, and there's going to be some changes, and they haven't been. They've been on a consistent decline since 2022, and it doesn't look great for next year. We'll see what moves they make. But what are your thoughts, Thomas, on the happenings in the upstate?
Yeah, so I've been thoroughly enjoying just soaking up all of every time I open Twitter, my entire feed is just Clemson fans complaining, and I've really enjoyed that. But to your point, it does piss me off that we did not beat them, because I can only imagine how demoralized they would be had we beat them as well after seeing their reaction to the Penn State loss. But yeah, I mean, Chad Morris is the name that has been floated out there the most for the new OC hire, which is super interesting. And it's super interesting to see the split between Clemson fans. I've seen people that hate it, and they're like, the only silver lining of this is I know that this isn't going to work, and we're going to get to move on from Dabo. So like, there is a portion of their fan base that is straight up over Dabo, ready to move on. Then there's the portion that will never, like, Dabo can do whatever he wants for as long as he wants, and they'll never abandon him, which I think he has kind of earned that with what he's done. But, I would assume it's that portion of the fan base that is more tolerable of the rumor that Chad Morris might be coming back. In terms of the other, like, more staff changes, I think that has a lot to do with who ends up being the OC. Like, if they bring in an OC that insists upon using his own people, you'll probably see CJ Spiller get let go. I think Matt Luke would survive that just because of his experience. And I don't know that anyone thinks that he is the problem there right now. I think certain fans want CJ Spiller to be fired regardless of who the OC is. So yeah, but like, I love to see Clemson fans upset. I do think that it will continue to trend in the wrong direction for them. Dabo's buyout right now is $60 million. I think at the end of next season, it's 57. So I don't think that they would or even could afford to pay that to move on from him. But if it continues to just not go the right way, I think the complaints may get loud enough that he just, the next time there's a coaching carousel like we had this offseason and there's some high profile jobs open, he might just leave. That'd be interesting for me because, I have been preying on Dabo's downfall. I hated him before they even got good. Like, I hated him when he was talking shit, when he took the clickbait from Spurrier in 2012 and went on the rant. I've hated him since then. So, I've seen the success that he's had has been tough for me. Like, I mean, I have to respect what he's accomplished. There is no denying that he's a Hall of Fame coach. He's in a very small group in college football. But I love competing against him. I love beating him. So him leaving Clemson, I would like it in terms of that would probably, bless you.
Thank you.
Wherever he leaves them, his departure will probably make them even worse than that for a short period of time. And then if they don't make the right hire, they could really get into some treacherous waters. But I would hate not getting to play against him on an annual basis. Like, he is the Clemson coach of my lifetime. Like, Tommy Bowden had been there for a little while, but he's almost synonymous with the Clemson rivalry for me. If hypothetically Clemson were to fire Dabo midseason next year, could they find themselves in a Penn State situation where, they're shooting too high for their replacement? They think more of themselves than they actually should, which ends up coming back to bite them and the position stays open longer than it should. I absolutely believe that would be the situation. Clemson fans have thought more than they should of themselves for my entire life. Before, the most infuriating thing about Dabo's success for me is it has given them credibility and vindication. But they carried themselves like that before any of this success. Like, we were worse in the 90s and early 2000s than they were, but they weren't good. They weren't nationally relevant. They weren't winning the ACC every year, every other year. They rarely won 10 games a season, but they acted, they were, before Dabo, they kind of rode the Danny Ford National Championship and acted like it was from 2 years ago. Meanwhile,
Georgia and Clemson did the same thing. They won in 80 and 81, and they never won anything until Dabo and Kirby.
Georgia was winning SEC championships under Kirby Smart. They were consistently,
under Mark Richt.
Like they would have years where they would win 10 games. Like they were better in between than Clemson was. Like, from Georgia's national championship to Kirby's, or from the 1980 national championship that Georgia won to Kirby's national championship, Georgia's record was substantially better than from Danny Ford to Dabo for Clemson. But yeah, they carried themselves like they were college football royalty before Dabo. So, and now he's blown their heads up even more. That's why they're so upset about everything. So yeah, I think they would mess up the hire for sure.
Yeah. I
don't
agree.
know.
I want Dabo to stay the coach, and I want to see him fail with their program. I don't want them to fire him mid-season.
The buyout next year is $57 million. I don't think they're firing him anytime soon. And because of what he's done there, I think that they would let him limp on a lot longer than most.
Yeah, I want it to tank next year, and then for him to, just with his cachet and obviously what he's done, he gets to keep trying and failing. I'd rather that than them fail hard and fire him and get a new guy in. But that's just me. I'd rather. But also, to your point, like, Dabo Swinney and Clemson are one and the same. You want to beat Dabo and Clemson together. When they separate, it'll be, obviously the hatred for Clemson doesn't change, and the new coach will likely become my most hated coach. But I'll be sad to see Dabo go. It's fun to beat guys like Dabo, and he's beat us a bunch too. So another layer to the rivalry, and we'll see what happens. we could have Dabo on the show in 30 years. Yeah, that might just have to be what we do, depending on anyways, let's do DB Blitz. Let's do some picks. That record. How do I have one extra game than Thomas?
No, they did not cover. I have an extra loss.
Hold that shit to 43. I'm only 2 games back, baby. But I guess we got some overlap this week. But
yeah, you're not going to catch me.
All right, my picks. Vandy, Iowa. That game is actually starting right now as we speak. I took the under in that game. Iowa is your classic Iowa team. They got a great defense. They have a putrid offense. Diego Pavia is playing in this game, but Eli Stowers, their All-American tight end, and really catalyst. I mean, I know Pavia is the catalyst of the offense, but Eli Stowers really does a lot for them in the passing game. So I think they're going to miss him dearly on third downs and just moving the chains and red zone. So I just expect this one to be a little bit of a struggle from a scoring standpoint. I initially liked Vandy to win the game, but after realizing Stowers was out, I figured I'd take the under, and that would be a better bet. So that's my non-CFP pick, Iowa Vandy. It's starting now, so unfortunately the listeners won't get that lock because the game's already started. But let's talk about the CFP. Miami, Ohio State tonight. I think that'll be a good game. I like Miami plus the points. I think Ohio State's the better team, but I do think this Miami group can get to Julian Sayin. I think he's been playing pretty easy ball. I just don't feel like he's been challenged a lot. They only scored 10 points against Indiana, which was the best defense they played by far this year, outside of Texas, which they only scored 14 against and didn't really move the ball. So bookend to this, beginning of the year, end of the year, and you play the 2 best defenses, you have your lowest outputs. Everything in between, they were beaten up on lesser defenses. So I like Miami to be able to keep this one close. I don't think Carson Beck is necessarily the guy that's going to go and win Miami the game, but I do like having 9.5. I think it'll be a 1-possession game. Ohio State maybe win by 3 or 6 or 7. But I like the points with Miami. Texas Tech money line. This is plus money, so just give me the 2.5 maybe. But the Red Raiders are my national championship pick. I love the defense. I think Oregon is slightly overrated. I know they got some talent, and everyone loves Dante Moore. So that's going to be a super fun matchup, watching Dante Moore against the Texas Tech defense. But again, I got the Red Raiders winning it all. They're a team of destiny, maybe you could say. But I like the Red Raiders against Oregon. UGA minus 6.5. This is a rematch game. UGA beat Ole Miss in the regular season. That game was in Athens. This game's down in NOLA. Should be a great atmosphere. I just trust Georgia in these games. I trust Kirby Smart in these games. Ole Miss obviously has all of the. They looked fine against Tulane. Lacey is going to be playing in this game. He got banged up against Tulane, but they announced that he was going to play. But I just trust Georgia in these spots. They've been here, done it, and they seemingly in these types of games just be able to play their game. And Gunnar Stockton will get them enough. And Ole Miss, again, there's just a lot of shit going on with Ole Miss and their coaching staff and all that drama with LSU and Lane leaving, and it's just hard to hard to. It sucks for Ole Miss that this is happening to them through the college football playoff. That's something we'll probably touch on in a future episode, just the college football calendar and how wacky it is, and it's pretty stupid what's going on with Ole Miss. I feel bad for their fan base, but ultimately their season's going to end here, I believe, to UGA. And then finally, Bama +7. I'm not very confident in this pick. I think Indiana's legit. I don't think this isn't like a dig at Indiana. I just somehow, for everyone saying Alabama didn't deserve to get in or whatever, and just Alabama as a program, and I know that's a program built by Nick Saban the past 20 years, but somehow I just think they're kind of like Syracuse, where Syracuse like doesn't deserve to get into the March Madness, and they get in as like the 10 seed, and then they make a run to the Final Four. Like, I just think Alabama just has a mystique as a program, and they're going to be competitive in this game against Indiana. I'm not saying they're going to win it, but to get a touchdown, I'll take the points in Bama against Indiana. So that's my 5 picks, the 4 CFP games, and then Iowa Vandy under, which has already started as of this recording. Sorry, folks. What you got, T?
We share Miami +9.5 and Texas Tech. I'm on Indiana -7. We share Georgia, and then I took Georgia Ole Miss under 56. It was an absolute shootout in the regular season, and I just think that because of that probably inflated the line a little bit, and I just think that with the extra prep time, both defensive, Ole Miss hired their DC as their head coach.
Yeah.
Kirby's always been a defensive guy. I just think the defenses will both show up very prepared and ready to play, and I think the under will hit.
What's your thoughts on Indiana since we're on the opposite side of that game?
I just think that Cignetti's a baller. I mean, I was skeptical of him last year, but this year, they beat the fuck out of everyone that they're supposed to beat the fuck out of. He beat Ohio State. He just does that. And it's kind of a grudge match for him. He was on Saban's staff, and he was recruiting coordinator, but I don't think that they gave him the opportunity to be an OC or a DC. He was wide receivers coach. I think there's a little bit of obviously they weren't going to make him head coach because Nick Saban was there, but I think there is an element of you let me walk away. I had to go coach D2 football to forward my career because you wouldn't make me a coordinator. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah. Are you weary of any teams that got time off? Indiana, Georgia, Ohio State, Texas Tech. Are you weary of that? We saw that last year.
No,
some of the teams that had the additional time off got mainly Oregon by Ohio State.
I think most of that was just the seeding not being done very well. Boise State never should have been the 3 seed. That screwed everything up. Oregon didn't lose to Ohio State because they had extra time off. They lost because Ohio State was the best team in the country, and they got super hot during the playoffs. There was nothing that was stopping Ohio State from beating Oregon last year. Then, Georgia lost to Notre Dame, but Carson Beck got hurt. Like, I don't think the time off was the issue last year. And I don't worry about that. I think the extra time is another reason why I like Cignetti, because he's a prepper. He's a film junkie. He attacks your weaknesses.
Yeah,
you just gave Batman extra prep time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think all four of these games should be really good. And in my bracket prediction, I was chalky. I had all the 1, 2, 3, and 4 go into the semifinals. I did take Miami and Bama to cover, but it'll be interesting. I think all of these games are going to be good, and I'm excited to watch tonight and all day tomorrow. Should be good games. A lot of stuff to talk about on our next episode. Results of this game, portal opening, basketball firing back up. I saw Michi Johnson was going to use some of his NIL money to buy people tickets to the to the home opener. So let's get out there and support the Gamecocks in basketball too. We'll be talking hoops, football, portal, whole nine. So thanks everyone for listening. As always, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcast, or Spotify. Go follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We're appreciative of everyone who listens and interacts with the show. Please give us some feedback, maybe some stuff y'all want us to talk about as we get closer and closer to the end of college football season, and we officially will enter into talking season. So there's still always going to be stuff for us to chat about. We'd love to hear from the listeners on what y'all are intrigued on hearing. So that's a wrap on this episode. Again, we appreciate everyone listening. Go Cox.
Go Cox.